Welcome to The Film Show with me, Lee Clark. And on the show this week, we have two stunning films for you that both feature all-star casts in Knives Out and the film 1917. Also, we have an interview with award-winning director David Lee about his incredible new series for the National Geographic channel called History of the Emirates. So take a look at this. Now, our first film is Knives Out, starring James Bond's Daniel Craig, Chris Evans, Jamie Lee Curtis, Ana de Armas, Christopher Plummer and Toni Collette. An amazing cast, and these are just some of the amazing cast in this recently released whodunit thriller, Knives Out. A simple narrative about how a detective investigates the death of a patriarch of an eccentric combative family. But it has so many twists and aha moments, it really does keep you guessing whodunit right to the very end. Written and directed by Rian Johnson, and he has executed this film superbly, with some great performances with a superb all-round cast. This comedy will entertain you immensely. For this year's Golden Globes, the film has already received 3 nominations, which includes Best Motion Picture in Comedy and Musical, Best Actor for Daniel Craig, and Best Actress for Ana de Armas. So let's take a look and see what all the excitement is all about.
Tell me what happened to my grandfather.
So we're here for the premiere of Knives Out.
You know something. Spill it.
Oh my God.
Knives Out is a old school whodunit in the style of Agatha Christie, but it's a new original story, a new original mystery, and it's set in modern day America.
All of them lied to me. There is one guilty party behind it all.
I'm so happy that this movie is coming out, and we can share it with everyone. You know, when you make a project and you have such a great time on set, not only you want to share the movie and the story, but you want to share these moments when you find each other in the carpet again after a whole year without seeing each other, and it's like, you know, those happy moments. Yeah.
Foul play. I have eliminated no suspects.
So Daniel Craig is playing the gentleman sleuth. He's playing like the Poirot-like detective. But in our version, his name is Benoit Blanc, and he has an American Southern accent.
You all love twisting the knife into one another.
I adore him. Well, in this movie, I don't think you've ever seen him doing anything like this. It's really special. Definitely completely opposite to what he does in Bond.
My presence will be ornamental. You will find me a respectful, quiet, passive observer of the truth.
Having worked with him in this and now in Bond, definitely we both look way more glamorous than in Knives Out. So I love him, yeah.
Mr. Blanc, I just buried my father who committed suicide. Why are you here?
I suspect foul play. I have eliminated no suspects.
When you're an actor, you live for these opportunities to work with just other great actors and master filmmaker like Rian Johnson on incredible material. And then to have it turn out to be so good, it was a blast.
Thank you all for getting together like this. It isn't legally necessary, but I thought because you're all in town and some of you are leaving soon.
Excuse me. I'm sorry. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to gently request that you all stay in town until the investigation is completed.
When the script for this came through, it was one of those things that just jumped off the page when you read it, and I think that's such a testament to Rian Johnson. You know, not only is the writer of this, but ultimately the director of this.
You'll see, this is a really fun movie. This is meant to be like a really fun ride.
The family is truly desperate. When people get desperate, the knives come out. This is a twisted web, and we are not finished untangling it. Not yet. I think you have something you want to tell me.
And now, Academy Award-winning actor Jeremy Irons narrates a groundbreaking 3-part television series on the National Geographic Channel. History of the Emirates, consisting of extraordinary visual content and innovative VR experiences. Islam Channel have been given the opportunity to meet the team behind the programme, and especially the series director David Lee. Now, David is Atlantic Productions' Emmy and BAFTA-winning executive producer. His role is to nurture exciting new ideas, steer them through the commissioning process into production, and ensure Atlantic's high-quality brand of storytelling delivers on screen. And I can't wait to find out about this historic journey on History of the Emirates.
3,000 years ago, people here had engineered a momentous change in their fortunes. Through the establishment of the camel trade and the invention of underground water tunnels. But as society grew, it became more complex.
We put pressure on ourselves to be at the forefront of technology and at the forefront of storytelling. So we're always pushing ourselves to do better, and for us to explore how to use that to tell stories is tremendously exciting. So the series has been 4 years in the making, and it comes at a very exciting time in terms of our knowledge of the history of the United Arab Emirates. Lots of discoveries have been made in the last 20 years by archaeologists and academics, and they're finding all sorts of fascinating stories. And it was our privilege then to be able to come in and tell those stories using the skill sets we've developed over about 27 years in the business. There were a couple of exciting challenges about making this series. One of them was that it's actually a very dynamic historical time for research into the history of the United Arab Emirates. So archaeologists are finding new things all the time. So every season they seem to find new things, and for us to keep up to date with that as we were filming was challenging, but also exciting. So we were able to join in a dig at a site where they were uncovering a stone house that's 7,500 years old. And inside the house they were finding the remains of one of the oldest individuals ever found in the Emirates. So to be there and join that dynamic unfolding history was very exciting. The VR and the app were designed to bring the history and bring the series to a different demographic in a way, to a younger audience who perhaps aren't so interested in sitting down for 3 hours or 5 hours to watch a history series. So it was aimed to be more engaging and also more immersive. So it's a different way of experiencing history. If you put on a headset and enter a virtual reality experience, you're immersed in that history. So it's a very engaging and immersive way of telling history. It was fantastic to have Jeremy Irons narrating the international series, and he was very excited and interested in the series. He gave a great narration and really lifted the series to have his distinctive voice on it. I think we started thinking about this series about 5 years ago. With all our projects, a big part of it is preparing, so it's looking into the research that's going on at the moment. How could we bring this ancient world to life? And so bringing in the visual effects team from an early stage was crucial. Part of that was sharing with them what is known about the places and the locations that we wanted to bring to life. And that involved liaising very closely with academics and archaeologists to discover what they know. And that gave us a chance to develop these visualizations initially, which we then shared collaboratively with the archaeologists and the academics, so that at every stage we were making sure that these were accurate depictions of what life was actually like. So this is a series presented by Image Nation and produced by Atlantic Productions, and it was fascinating to be able to work in the Emirates, closely with the people of the Emirates during the making of this series. I think partly to tap into their enthusiasm for the project and for the history, and I think also to bring the history to life for the people of the Emirates. I think that history is not widely known, partly because it's being discovered all the time. You know, even now, new discoveries are being made. So to be able to capture those discoveries and that history and bring it to life and bring it to the screens was a great privilege for us and very exciting.
Inside the houses on Marawa, archaeologists are piecing together an astonishing story of Stone Age trade taking place across remarkable distances. The first clues to emerge were fragments of a highly distinctive hand-painted pot that wasn't local to this area.
Next up, Oscar-winning director Sam Mendes brings us a story about two young British privates during the First World War who were given an impossible mission, which is to deliver a message deep into enemy territory. Now, the film, with a budget of $100 million and complex filming structure and a star cast including Andrew Scott, Benedict Cumberbatch and Colin Firth, now these are just some of the star names in the film, 1917 is already lined up for the Best Director and Picture for this year's Golden Globes. For now, let's see them shine on the red carpet.
Blake, pick a man, bring your kit.
I hoped today might be a good day. Hope is a dangerous thing.
I was just so thankful to get the part. It's just a privilege, and the doing of it was an amazing learning experience, the most collaborative that I've ever had, everyone working together.
I'm just excited for people to finally see it, you know, see how they react to it. It's a very tense film and, you know, it's very stressful.
Let's talk about this for a minute.
Why?
We've got orders to cross here. That is the German front line.
Well, it's great to be so excited about seeing something that you're involved when, and sincerely as well, you know, without any kind of mucking around about it. I've seen like a 3-minute section when I came in to do some ADR. It looks amazing. It was visceral reading it on the page, and so if it's, you know, if he's delivered half of what was on the page and its impact up on the screen, then it's going to be a pretty extraordinary document.
About the idea of doing something about the First World War for a long time. When he finally got round to writing something down, he got as far as a treatment, and then sort of we discussed it and decided that he should bring a co-writer on, because I think he otherwise would have filed it away and it would never have turned into a script. And that's when Christy Wilson Cairns came on board and co-wrote with Sam.
No one will get to your brother.
I will.
It's really exciting. It's exciting because, you know, it's not, it wasn't a given that it would be a giant movie. You know, you've got two actors in the leads that are not world famous, you know, they're young and relatively inexperienced, and the audience is new to a relationship with them. So I think I'm thrilled with the way it's being received and the way that it's being touted as something you have to see on the big screen, because that is how I made it.
Now, with many war movies out there, what makes this masterpiece truly exceptional is that the film is structured as in real time, with one continuous shot. Phenomenal cinematographer Roger Deakins, who is on board with this project, was responsible for the complex filming. Having already worked with Sam Mendes on Skyfall, I'm sure he already knew what he's letting himself in for. Filmed in natural light and never to repeat a single location, I'm mesmerised by this film totally. To find out more, we go behind the scenes and also hear from the cast and crew. at the film's press conference, which took place at the Imperial War Museum in London.
I found this time in 1917, very specific moment in the spring of 1917 when the Germans retreated to the Hindenburg Line, and suddenly this land that they were fighting over was abandoned, and the Germans destroyed most of what was there, left nothing of any lasting value. And there seemed to be a story possible to tell, this epic journey. That was the moment that I thought, oh yeah, I can write a film, because at least 90% of the first-person accounts of the war are accounts of things like the Somme, which really are, only 100 yards of land. And one of the reasons I think that the First World War is not particularly, well, at least is not as represented in movies as the Second World War, is that very nature, the very nature of the war was quite static. So when I found out there was a journey that he could take, or they could take, that was the moment that I actually started writing with some kind of enthusiasm, the treatment, and then I took the treatment to Christy, and then it was she who really took it into script form for the first time.
I was absolutely fascinated with it growing up. Coming from a place like Glasgow, where it had such a huge effect, it really devastated the community. So, from my grandparents, that was passed down to me, that interest. And I remember when I first moved to London, coming here and learning more about it, the Imperial War Museum, so it was a dream come true when Sam, he didn't tell me what it was at first, he just asked if I was free, and I was like, of course I'm free, you're Sam Mendes. And then he's like, oh, it's going to be a First World War film, and I was like, oh my God, the stars have aligned, dream come true.
He sent me the script, and on the front, a cover page, it said this is a vision as a single shot. And James, my wife, and I looked at each other and said, oh, it must be a typo mistake or something. Is it makeable? Well, I don't know. I don't think it was until, almost a few days before we actually started shooting. We've kind of figured everything out, and then we felt it was kind of makeable by then, before we started really shooting. We did a lot of rehearsals and a lot of testing, so that's what you do, I don't think I've had as much anxiety doing sort of some shots that we did on this, but also the thrill, because after some of the shots, which, like 7 or 8 minutes, and it kind of complicated moves, and everybody's got to be on the ball, at the end, everybody would look at each other and give high five, and, everybody, wasn't it? It was a real high.
Once they came up with a single shot, you then realise that brings a whole load of problems that you don't normally have in terms of how on earth do you construct the sets. You've got to string together locations which were right across the UK, make them seamless. You can never cut away and cut back to a different place. You've always got to make them look like they're right next to each other. So there were a lot of very odd production challenges.
The major difficulty was getting across the terrain and doing some of those really intense kind of sensitive scenes, like with Claire, and making it all feel like a piece. So you're using a lot of different techniques, like, stabilized systems, wire cameras, all sorts of things. But I think for me, the trick was try and make it feel like one camera all the time. I think that was the biggest challenge, really, that and the weather.
The beauty of doing it and the beauty of the whole kind of journey is so physical that, in a sense, so much of the work is done for you. There's not a huge amount of acting required in terms of just trying to stay up. We were in a river in Darlington, and we were also at a facility that gave us some sort of control over the flow of the water as well. So that kind of allowed us to have a kind of control of the journey that I was put on, but then I myself didn't have a huge amount of control of once I was in there.
I felt from the very beginning that this movie could be, it happens to be 2 British soldiers, but it could just as equally be 2 German soldiers, 2 Belgian soldiers. It's about the experience of war rather than about the historical moment, and so, but also I believe that, through the micro, through details, through individuals, you only then begin to understand the macro. The scale of what they see. Through a tiny keyhole of a one man's experience or 2 men's experiences, you see the panorama of death and destruction that was the Great War, And my way of honouring the men and civilians who fell in that time, and not just on the British side, but on both sides, all sides, was to tell the story of these 2 men just over 2 hours. And sometimes I feel like, because you can go anywhere in cinema, your eyes get bigger than your stomach, and you take on more, and you try and express the vastness of war. But for me, it's a human connection that you search for, and that the best, you know, special effect is always a human being, you know, and that they're infinitely able to communicate in a way that image can't. So, you know, that was very deliberate, and I'm pleased because of that. I'm pleased it's making a connection.
There is only one way this ends.
Well, there you have it. I'm sure the hardest decision you're going to have to make after watching this week's film show is what to watch first. A truly great edition of The Film Show. Why don't you check out these great films? Of course, Knives Out and 1917. And let us know your thoughts. You can email us at thefilmshow@theislamchannel.tv. Well, it's time to say goodbye for now, but I'm going to leave you with a real fabulous sneak peek of the brand new Top Gun Maverick trailer. Until next time, enjoy the movies.
Your instructor is one of the finest pilots this program has ever produced. His exploits are legendary. What he has to teach you may very well mean the difference between life and death.
Your reputation precedes you.
I have to admit, I wasn't expecting an invitation back.
They're called orders, Maverick.
Good morning, aviators. This is your captain speaking. Today's exercise is dogfighting.
2 versus 1? Hey, he's got to be kidding.